Hello, welcome to Lazada Insider, featuring knowledge that makes a difference. We share trusted insights, forward-looking perspectives, and exclusive expert interviews to keep you ahead of the curve.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Lazada Insider. And I'm your host, Shaz, Senior Manager from Lazada Group Strategy. Behaviors and lifestyle shifts were accelerated by the pandemic, and these have also impacted the way we work. It has been 2 years since work from home started, and with the world learning to live with COVID, what would be the norm then on the way we work, and what does this mean then for the consumer tech and durables? And today we have Karthik from GFK to share his expertise and knowledge on this topic. Thank you, Karthik, for joining us today. And I'm sure the listeners would like to know a bit more about you and JFK. Could you share a bit more about yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Karthik. Like Shas mentioned, I work at GFK and I lead the marketing and consumer intelligence business across the Asia Pacific region. I'm based in Singapore. I've been here over 10 years now in Singapore, but before that, I've worked across India, Indonesia, and other parts. So GFK, as probably some of you who may not be aware, we are a global leader in data and analytics, and we've been kind of providing consumer and market insights and consultancy to our clients for over 85 years now. And we are especially a currency or an expert in the area of tech and durables business, where we do a lot of tracking work, consultancy work, and have been tracking this kind of categories over time for a very long time.
Cool. So 2 years ago, work from home started due to COVID. And now with the world slowly opening up and learning to coexist with COVID, organizations are considering return to office policies, but there is a growing preference for hybrid working. Could you share what does hybrid working actually means, and what do you think the future hold for a return to the workplace?
Yeah, I think it's really been interesting. I guess COVID kind of forced this model of having to do remote working. But I think as we kind of move towards a more normal state, I think organizations are moving a lot more towards what you could term as hybrid working, where it's still a mix of working from home, but obviously also coming into office or even stepping outside to meet clients and do things as a so much more flexible arrangements. I think there's been a lot of studies, there's been a lot of work around this topic, and most of that work, when you talk to the employees, what they're saying is what they really like is the flexibility of how they work and how they do things. And I think there's been enough evidence now to show that there hasn't been a big impact on productivity and other things, which was probably the biggest fear most organizations have. I guess we're all learning, and trust has to be established and stuff like that. To just give you a very quick example, within GFK, we actually did an internal survey we have over 8,500 employees across the world, and we kind of ran a survey about what kind of flexibility people look for and what do they like, what do they dislike, etc. And what was interesting was almost 70% actually said that working from home actually gives them a higher quality of life, and their stress levels have actually decreased. Basic other stuff, I guess, in other markets, like I can imagine in Jakarta and Delhi and stuff like that, where it came out that they save so much time because they didn't have to commute like 2 hours, stuck in traffic, etc. So, but having said that, they also said that, we would still like to come in, do some stuff. There's stuff which can't be done, like innovation, brainstorming, all that is much better when in person. So I think more and more the the world, I guess, or most organizations are moving towards is, let's say, maybe at least 1 or 2 days a week you're in office, and the rest is. So I think at least at GFK, and I think this is what you hear in the market otherwise also, that more and more people are inclined to move to that kind of a model going forward.
Thanks for sharing that insight. With that in mind, with what you have just shared in mind, it would be great if you can help us to understand then which product and service categories stand to benefit from the hybrid work setup, and which one you perceive that might suffer.
Yeah, what's interesting, and especially like I mentioned, we do a lot of tracking and a lot of work on the tech and durables category. I mean, that category has it's no surprise that category is really benefited. That there were certain categories which were, I wouldn't say were dying, but were not the greatest of categories, like webcams, uh, headsets, monitors, etc. All these categories have grown, like webcams have grown something like 200%. I'm talking about globally. Keyboards have grown. I mean, external keyboards. People are not buying them now. People bought them. Printers. Home printers have gone through the roof. So I think the home office equipment, that's probably the category which is benefited the most from it. But what's also interesting is a lot of home related things, and which make life easier at home. Coffee makers, food preparation. Uh, People have started to cook at home a lot more. So bread makers. All those kind of categories have again also benefited a lot. And when it comes to services, obviously food delivery, home cleaning, all those kind of categories have benefited. Even small stuff like part-time help, nannies, all that is really. What's interesting when you ask me also about the decline, I think a lot of sectors which are outside obviously got affected. Travel got affected, eating out got affected, even fashion, categories, apparel, etc., also got affected. I think people are not buying as many clothes if most of the time you're spending indoors, you are not splurging on stuff.
Cool. I think it was interesting that you shared that that the impact on product categories goes beyond the typical work related categories such as monitor and keyboard. That even coffee makers are impacted positively as consumers seek to create a conducive work environment at home. There's a perspective from like the consumer. What do you think, like from the perspective of employers, how then has hybrid work impacted their investment in terms of tech tools and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one. I think there's been a big impact on the tech tools and the B2B, you could call it the B2B companies, so to say. I think the biggest thing is when it started, I think no one really knew how to handle this, what will work, what wouldn't work, etc. I think from an organization, so there was a lot of adoption of. I think the first tools which got adapted were communication tools. I think everybody bought into the Zooms, the MS Teams, and Slacks and stuff like that. So I think that happened. But then I think there's also this whole thing of how do those tools talk to each other, etc. So I think organizations have started to adjust, making sure it's more a broader mix of tools and suites which can talk to each other, and kind of gone into that. So I think uh, that I think has been a bit of a journey for all organizations, and I think they're getting it now. They're basically figuring out what works, what doesn't work, how each tool talks to the other. So let's say somebody adopts a Salesforce and adopts something else, but all those tools have to talk to each other as well within the organization environment. So I think that's that's made a difference. Uh, I think what is really important is as companies kind of transform towards a hybrid kind of a work model, I think there's a lot more feedback coming with employees from people to say what works, what doesn't work, what's most important. And I think uh, but we've seen a lot of change. The other change which is also is uh, just information, right? Just conveying information to the employees, just being able to do a lot of things on your own. um, you know Data at your fingertips, analytics tools. So a lot of that has also got adopted. And I think even basic stuff, right? How do you make sure everything is secure? Uh, there are no missing files. Things like that. So I think there's a lot of. I think that area, I would say the digitization of organizations has been huge, and I think we've leapfrogged probably 5-10 years in a very short period of maybe a year and a half. I think organizations have really had to transform.
Looking forward, what would you say then the potential obstacles to growth in tech and durable sectors for the upcoming years? And what would your advice be for the brands or the businesses out there on how to address these potential obstacles or challenges?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I mean, we were just coming out of the pandemic, and this whole geopolitical situation has happened. So that's a bit of a pity, because I think most economies were actually starting to recover. People are starting to come back. So I think companies, obviously, in the near term, medium term, have to look at their plans again, as this is causing a lot of other issues, like inflationary pressures are going up. Those things are happening. Uh, the other big obstacle, especially in tech and durables, is still supply chain. Supply chain is still a big issue. When some of these things happen, it's an interesting example that with the Russia situation, the whole the automotive sector is getting hit because of the EV batteries. A lot of that lithium and nickel, etc., comes from Russia. So I think that there are those challenges as well. But I think, like in JFK, we had kind of predicted a 10 to 12% growth for the tech and durable sector for this year. I think might be a bit more muted than that, given all the things that's happening. Uh, but I think longer term, I think what's been really good is that all the organizations have managed to navigate the situations and have put a lot of plans in place and contingency plans, and they've been very agile. So I think if you really talk about organizations, I think the the few things which I think we learned was, one, definitely people need to be more agile, and make decisions quickly. I think that is something everyone learned in this pandemic. Because if you had a typical red tape and so many levels and stuff, that it wasn't enough. And so related to that, you have to have contingency plans, have BCPs, especially for hybrid working, right? What if something happens suddenly and you've got everyone back, and then suddenly everyone has to go back? So I think those things are very important. And then I think the other thing is a cultural shift within the organization. I think everyone has to build a cultural shift to say, you embrace change as it happens. That people should be willing to say, hey, uh, we are, even small things, right? I'm willing to do a performance appraisal on a this thing. I'm willing to do training on a sitting at home. So a lot of those things which were taken for granted would happen, for instance, face to face, may not happen very frequently. So, and I think lastly, I mean, it may sound a bit like a jargon or a repeat, but I think organizations have to keep going on the digital transformation journey. I think if COVID has shown us anything, that's there. The consumers, in some way, are actually faster than organizations. I mean, you're at Lazada. You've seen the growth which has happened on e-commerce, etc. Where I think the consumers were actually faster to adopt and move to those things than sometimes organizations were. How do I do fulfillment? How do I do this? How do I do that? I think it took organizations a bit longer than, because the consumers' expectations were still sky high. So I think those things are extremely important, and an organization shouldn't just say, "Oh, this has gone away," and I go back to the old way of doing things. I don't think that's happening. Consumers have moved on. They've got used to this era, and organizations have to then understand those changes, uh, understand what consumers want again, because it's those things have also changed, and then adapt their plans accordingly.
Cool. I think what resonate very much, what you have shared is that, about change, embracing change. And here in Lazada, one of our core values is that change is the only constant. So this is the mindset that Lazada have, and what you have shared also, that digitalization of companies will continue in the upcoming years. I think that's true, and there's a need for organization to be much faster than the expectation of the consumers. So I think before we actually end, we have talked about like the challenges, and how we can address these challenges. What would you say, then the three main future opportunities for brands or businesses in the tech and durable sectors?
Yeah. No, that's quite interesting. I think at JFK, because we work a lot with the tech and durable companies, and we track a lot of products, etc. Uh, I think there are a few things which are happening, and brands are also being quite smart. I think there are a few opportunities. Uh, if you look at the themes, I think one of the key ones is innovation. I think innovation is becoming very, very, very key again. And not just small incremental things. I think again, given this hybrid situation, work from home, etc., companies have to really rethink also even products and innovation. I'll give you an example. Um, One of the categories which grew, besides all the other things which I spoke about, was this whole category of robot vacuums, at home.
Mhm.
And but the previous generation, I would say, of the robot vacuums were these bit noisy, clunky, kind of things, etc. What we've seen, and because also tech companies have adopted, they've spoken to consumers, we've helped some of them, is the innovation which is coming in that category. It's so consumers want less noise because they're working, so they want it to be put there. They want those kind of vacuum cleaners to be able to understand the home, map it, so on its own. So they don't have to. Earlier, you had to still kind of chase that thing and make sure it's So there's so much of work and innovation which is going into making that category different. Now you have products where that vacuum will go back to a place, it will empty itself, it will fill up water, it will do mopping.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of innovation and adoption which I think will be needed to attune to this kind of environment. That's so innovation is definitely, I think, one of the big themes which has come back more and more. The other one is, I think, interestingly, premiumization is coming back. So I think consumers are starting to again go back to better quality products, better quality of things. They're willing to spend a bit more to maybe buy a bigger, better TV, which happens. Um, Appliances, which are better designed, look better at their home, things like that. So I think that's another very interesting theme. We saw in the middle there was this whole area of value products happening and stuff like that, where people were buying. But we really seeing premium brands come back. And I mean, you work in Lazada. The other big change and opportunity is about digital channels, shopping, e-commerce. I mean, that's completely changed the game. I look at Southeast Asia. I mean, it's just, I think, accelerated probably 10 years in probably a couple of years time. And I think again that's a big opportunity, right? You have the opportunity. Digital allows you to know a lot more about your consumers. Even from an analytics perspective, even the work we do, you can actually do a lot more. You can do a lot of test and learn. You can do a lot of things. So I think that thing about providing a consistent consumer experience. Let's say your stores are not open and you have to provide but that touch and feel experience on some of the things on digital. How do you do that? So a lot of that are opportunities, and organizations have to kind of work, and brands have to work and learn towards that. I think that will be very, very key going forward.
Great. Thank you so much once again, Karthik, for sharing your knowledge and expertise on this topic. It was really nice to have you on this recording, on this episode. So we hope that the listeners, have picked up a few insightful insights, and that they can then bring in back to their businesses or their brands. For the listeners, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for listening in. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
This is Lazada Insider. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you click follow and subscribe so you don't miss our latest insights and expert interviews. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Lazada.